it. There you go. And
There you go.
this is just done. I'm gonna go back to the page
There you go.
Svelte, and I'm gonna comment this
I'm gonna comment this.
just for a bit so we can see what we get back from the on the data when we use the props. So in theory, when we go now here, we should be getting the posts, and maybe we should be getting the user as well. So if I save this and go back to the application, I'm gonna reload it and now, of course, we get nothing, but then we have a response. And the response is going to be the params, and then we have the users. So, you know, we are not getting the response from the server. We are only getting the users from within this file, from the plus page. So the thing is that the load page by default is going to override whatever is that you provide from the server, because this server runs first. So this one gets the information.
This server runs first.
Information returns something, then this one does the same, and it's gonna override whatever the server is returning. That's why we are only getting the users and we are not getting posts. If I go to the plus page.js, just select everything, I'm gonna comment out everything, I'm gonna go back, and now we get the posts. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. I'm gonna go back, JS, only getting the user, override whatever the server is returning. That's why. So the on the data when we use the props, so in theory, when we go now here, we should be getting the on the data when we use the props. So in theory, by default, is going to override whatever is the thing. That's why we are only getting the users and we are not getting posts. If I go to the plus page.js, just select everything, I'm gonna comment out everything, I'm gonna go back, and now we get the posts. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. If I request maybe the user 200 or the post 200, we are getting the error, sorry, dang it, that we get from the page.server. Now still, we are getting the error, sorry, dang it, that we get from the page.server. Now still, although this works, it would be really nice to maybe get a combination of both. Maybe the server is going to fetch some data about the user and the other one is going to do something else. But then we want to combine all the returns and then provide a big response to the plus page.svelte. Well, you can do it, but we need to do something different on the page.js. I'm going to select everything, uncomment, and just get back to this. So again, remember, the server will always run first and returns something. And this plus page is overriding all of that information. It is because we are using the property data. Everything goes into data. So in theory, if I go to the load function, we will receive a param called data that comes from the page.server. So first I'm going to go here. I need to change this. I'm going to go here, say that I want to get a user back. And then when I return something, is going to be user equals to the user, the params, and then comma, and I'm going to put inside ... data, which is whatever it comes back from the server. And now in theory, we should be getting the user that we are getting from this request, the params, and the data that we are getting from the server. I'm going to go here, maybe go to the user one. We know we do have a user number one. I'm going to press enter, and now we get a response. And, we get it. We get the params, we get the actual post from the server, and we get the user from the plus page.js. So with Svelte and Vite, you have support for...
Okay. User params
the env variables, environment variables.
now is environments variables.
If you don't know what they are, it's just a file that will host all your keys and passwords that you should never share. Now, to use an env file, you need to create it at the root directory. And notice that you don't get it by default. So if I go here, how we use it is by doing dot and then env. Then you need to use the same name. If not, it's just not going to work. This is a file that you should never share with anyone because this file will host your passwords. And that's why when you go to the git ignore, you will see a lot of the ignores, and you can see that you have the environment files. So again, you should never share the file that you have right here. And the whole point of this file is to, host passwords. And the way we do it, and this is a convention, is by doing all caps, the name with underscore of your key. Let's say that I want to use something called secret API, and here you host some super secret and then data, something like that. And if you want to create a new one, this is not an object, it's just a file. You don't need to do comma, you just need to go to the next line. For example, let's say that I want to create a public underscore API and then key, and I'm going to call this one the public one. So now we have two different keys that we can use on our project. Now there's something else that's super interesting. We have two keys, and they are just keys, but they are a little bit different. The first one doesn't start with the keyword public. The other one does. It is because on Svelte, we have two types of environment variables: the secret one, the private ones, and the public ones. If it starts with the keyword public, it means that this is a public. If not, of course, is a private. Now the question is now, how can we access these keys from within our code? First, I'm going to go to the plus page.server, and how it works is just really simple. We need to go here and just import the key. And by default, if you create it, Svelte, it's aware of your .env file. So if you type it or you enter the name of your key, it will bring it right here. Notice that we get it. We get the public one and the secret one. So if I enter the name, by default, it will recognize your key. So I just need to bring the public key. And then if I want to bring the private, well, it's your key, so I just need to. So if I enter, it will, and by default, if you create that server, and how it works is a private. Now the
that was okay.
question is now, how can Svelte knows which one is public and which one is private? And if I want to maybe console log, we can really do it or maybe use it. I'm going to do console log and then just output the secret one. So secret API, then comma, and the public API key. If I maybe go to the user one, that's fine. I'm going to reload the application. And if I go all the way down at the bottom, we should be getting it. And I guess there's some other console log. And there we go. We get it. We get the some super secret data, and then we get the public one. That's how we get it. Now, of course, since we are on the server, we can access both. We have access to the private and the public, and that's fine. Now, the thing is that the other files, like the plus page.js, well, these ones run on the client, not on the server. So you don't have access to the private keys. And again, it makes sense. If I maybe go to, even if I go to the plus page at Svelte, and I go here, and I try to import the same thing, I will run into some issues. I'm going to import the public and then the secret. I'm going to save, and notice that the application goes into error. It says you cannot import the private, so you can only use
public. only public.
Use the public. If I remove this one and leave the public, the application is just,
It's running now.
back up again. And just to make sure that it works, I'm gonna go here and say that I want to print on the client. The public keys. So yeah, like we discussed previously, sometimes it's kind of hard to know where you are, and you need to take a look at the name of the file, because I know that this one is client, this one is client, and this one is server by just looking at the name. But the code, it's just not so different from the plus page, so it sometimes is a little bit confusing. Still, it's good to know that Svelte will look out for you, and it will not use your private keys on the client. Alright, so I want to show you how link prefetching works. It's really simple. We could maybe use some of the examples that we already have, but I'm going to create a post page or post route, let's say. So we are going to use it on the upcoming videos. So I will go to our routes. I need to create a new directory. This one will be called, I guess, posts. And inside we need two things. We need the page.svelte, so plus and then a page.svelte. And then we need the plus page.js, not this. Server one. So I'm going to do plus and then page.js. And the job right here, it's really simple. If you want to do it on your own, you can. We need on the plus page.js to go to JSON placeholder and get some posts. Let me go first to placeholder, and we need to do the same thing than before. Go and get some posts. So when we fetch the posts on the plus page.js with the load function, we need to provide the data to the plus page.svelte and then just show the posts. If you want to try it on your own, you can. We kind of did it already, so you know how to do it. So first I'm gonna start and I'm gonna import Axios, and then it's gonna be from, of course, Axios. At some point, if we get an error, I want to provide the error, so I will import the error from Sveltekit, and then we need to export an async and then function called load, open and close. We don't need anything from the load function. We just need to do a good old try and catch. So try, catch, open, and then we get the error, and we will do something with the error. So if we have an error, I'm gonna be throwing the error from Sveltekit, and this one will be 500. Let me do it inside 500, comma, and I'm going to save failed to fetch posts. Fine. So now we need to fetch the posts. I'm going to do response equals to, and then we go to await, we go to axios.get, and we go to the same location that we have right here, posts, and we get 100 posts, and it's actually part of the plan. We will reuse this section. This post section just to learn all the things from Svelte. So const, I'm going to say posts equals 2, and then we go to await, we access the response, and we get the data. Once we get the data, remember we need to return a plain object. So we need to do posts and then equals to posts. Of course, we can do something like this, but sometimes I like to be a little bit obvious. So okay, so done. So now we will send the data to the plus page that's felt, and we need to catch it. So I will go to the script, open and close, and we get it through props. Let open, we get the data, and this one is equal to, and then we go to props, open and close. And I like a little bit of space right here, completely up to you. So then once we get the posts, well, we want to show the posts. So we need an each. I will go to open, then we do hash, and then we go to the each. And it's going to be data, then dot, and then we go to the posts. And then we go here and say that we want to access to the post on each iteration. And the ID, the key, is going to be the post, and then the ID. And now we just need to create the markup. So div, open, and then I need the title. We are not going to, create something super complex. I'm going to say post. Then we access to the title, and then we need to print maybe, I don't know, the body. Sounds like a good idea. So post, dot, and then we go to the body. And also I will create a line so we can separate this one from the other posts. And that's it. This should work. I'm not sure if this works, but in theory, if I reload the application and I manually go to posts, we should be getting them, and we do. Fine. So this works. I want to, so I will create a line so we can separate this one from the other posts. And that's it. This should work. I'm not sure if this works, but in theory, if I reload the application and I manually go to posts, we should be getting them, and we do. Fine. So this works. I want to go to the actual layout, the plus layout that's the root layout. I want to add the link. So I will copy this. I'm going to paste it right here and say now that we want to go to posts, and this one will be posts. Fine, let's do it again. I will go back to home, reload it, then go to posts, and we get the posts. Now this video was not about creating a post route. It was about link prefetching. So what you get when you create a link is a way of prefetching the information. And the way you do so, the way you do that is by just adding right here a param called data Sveltekit preload data. So let me just do it like that. And once you write data and you do dash, you get a lot of different options. Well, the one we want right now is the one that says preload data, but you can also preload code.
What the hell? Preload code. Esta huevada no la conocía.
This means that it will preload when you hover on the link. Now in this case, I'm going to go to data. Since we are fetching some information, when we hover over the link, it will preload the data. And this makes, of course, the application a bit faster. So I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to go to the home, reload. And if I go to posts, we get pretty much the same response. I will go to the network, and first I'm going to go back to home, reload the application, and now I'm going to move my mouse. As soon as I hover that link, it will go to the server, get the posts, and then come back. Of course, we are not going to load if we don't click, but you will see the effect right here on the list. I'm going to go over the posts, and as soon as I do so, notice that this changes. And this is because it's prefetching that data. And if you scroll at some point, you will see something that says posts. There you go. You have it right here, posts. And it's a request. So when I go here, it will give you a preview of the data. And notice that we have all the different posts, the 100 posts. It's not prefetching the actual component. It's prefetching the data. So when I go to posts, we don't need to wait for the loading or the fetching of the 100 posts. And this is something very useful all server-side rendering frameworks are providing, the preloading the code or preloading the data. Now in this case, we are fetching something very simple. It's 100 posts, but we don't have a lot. This could be really, really useful, especially if you're maybe fetching some images, or maybe you have some posts with some heavy load. Well, again, this prefetching will help you. Now, still, my recommendation is for you to use it wisely. Do not go to every link and try to preload it. Just use it when you really need to. Okay, so we know when we use the page on app and then state, we get access to know some of the information about the page. And I'm telling you this because on some frameworks, you get a hook, for example, to know the active link. On Svelte, you don't get it. Still, we have a workaround for this. We can go to the place where we want to know, and then we import the page property from, and then we go to app, and then Svelte. So /app, and then we go state. Sorry, not Svelte, state. So when we go to a route, whether it's contact users or whatever, the page will know the path name or the location. So the workaround is that we can maybe go to a link and we can ask, are we here? And if we are, we can set the class to active. And we can attach or chain classes by using the class, then column, and then we attach the name or, provide the name we want to attach. In this case, it's active. And here, we just need to go to the page and check if the URL
What the hell?
Dot, and then the path name, it's completely equal. To the location. So I will go here and say / because, we are at home. So if I save it and then I go to home, we get the active link on the Bootstrap header. And I guess for the other ones, it's just the same deal. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go here and say that
Holy shit. This is great.
this one will be contact. I'm gonna copy. The other one's gonna be users. So copy paste. This one will be users. And the last one, it's posts. So I will go to posts and then say posts. Fine. So now if I go to contact, users, or posts, we get it. Now doing all of this manually, just like this, doesn't look that fun. We maybe could use an array and a loop so we can render the whole, all the options, all the buttons that we have right here. But this is something that maybe we will do on the practice application. For now, I much prefer to keep moving forward. Let's move on to the next video and talk about redirections. And okay, so redirections, we have a couple of ways to do this. First, I will go to maybe posts, right here, posts, and I want to run a redirection from within the plus page.js because we can do it on the server, we can do it on the plus page.svelte, and I want to show you how you can do it. Right here on the plus page, you need to import a module called redirect. And if you want to get it from the autocomplete, you can say redirect, and you should be getting a redirect from Svelte.js and then kit. If you select it, it will import it. For you. And the way the redirect works is that you call it, and inside it's going to be the status first, and secondly it's going to be the location, which is where you want to redirect the user. If I save this and I go to posts, remember we are on the page.js, and I'm going to go home and then maybe contact. I'm going to go to posts, not happening. It's just kicking the user or kicking us out to the home. And this could be a different solution for the error, for the catch. Instead of throwing an error, I could just redirect the user back home. So okay, so that's how the redirect works. Now then, if I go maybe to the contact, I will create a new file plus page.server.js, and here it works the same way. need a load function, so I need to export async. We don't really need the async, but function, and then this one is going to be load. We don't need the params, but we do need the redirect, so I will redirect and it will import from Sveltekit. It will open, and then again we need the location, I'm sorry, the status, and then the location. I will say home. And remember that we are doing it from the page.server.js. So this comes from the server. I'm going to reload the application, maybe go to users, and now if I go to contact, not really happening. It's just kicking us out to home. Now then you have a different way, which is how to programmatically redirect the user. And if you go to the documentation, I need to go to the docs, then go to Sveltekit, not the Sveltekit. If you made a mistake, let me go back. If I go to Sveltekit, keep scrolling down until you find something that says a reference. You will find something that says app and then navigation. You have a lot of other things. If I go to the navigation, which is the one we care right now, you can import a lot of different properties and methods that you can use to redirect the user. So let me show you how this works. I'm gonna maybe comment this out because it's just in the way, and I will go to maybe the plus page svelte of the contact, and I'm gonna do it right here. So what we can do, we can do script open and close, and then I will import the go and then to from app and then navigation. So with this one, what we can do, maybe by clicking a button or calling a function, we just call that this function, this go to, and we redirect the user. As simple as that. Let's say that I want to create a redirect page button, let's say, and every time I click, I will redirect the user. So on, click, and then we run. The function, I will say that I want to go to, then open, and the first argument is going to be just where you want to go. In this case, it's going to be home. So if I go to home, reload the application, I go to contact, and then click the button, is going to take us back home. And maybe, just maybe, you're thinking, what's the difference between this and using a link? Well, you know, this is a button. You cannot make it a link unless you style it like a button. This is why we get the app navigation, so we can programmatically with JavaScript redirect the user, or just, you know, take the user someplace else. Now on top of this, with the navigation, you have a lot of different useful methods that you get. So let me show you how this works. I'm gonna go here. I'm not gonna go through all of them. You have a lot. So let me show you the after navigation. So we have one that's called after navigate. And this one is just a function that will run a callback when something happens. And the other one is the same, but before navigate. And every time you do something very specific, it will run the callback function and let you know what's going on. So with the after navigate, we can do a console.log, and this one will be the after and then navigate, and the other one will be the before. So this one, the after navigate, is when navigate to location. And the other one, it's the complete opposite, is when you navigate out of the location. So out of location. If I save this and go back to here, I'm going to go to home and, let me just reload it. I will go to contact. I'm going to go here after navigate. So this is when this is firing. We go to the contact and it will fire the callback. This is when we go in. When we get out of contact, then the other one will
I understand that.
fire. When we go to the contact and it will fire the callback. This is when we go in. We run a function, do a fetch or something like that. And then again, if the user goes away of that, that location, maybe again you want to go to a store or maybe ask the user if the user really wants to get out of that screen and, so on. The common examples that we get on an application. Still, you have a lot of other methods. I'm not going to go through all of them because they are a lot, but they are very specific. We get preload data. Like if I go here, we have the preload data. And if you remember, we talked about this when we go to the layout and we go to, for example, the posts where we preload the data when we click on the LI of the link.
He's talking about this one. Preload data.
Well, this is the same idea, but it's the method way of doing the same thing. We programmatically preload a page. If you take a look at the code, right here you have an example. You get the preload, the location, and then it will go to that location and do the preload. Same thing with the code. We have the same thing for the code. We talked about this. And then, for example, you have the on navigate. This one, it's a life cycle. It's a little bit different from the after navigate and the before navigate. This one will run a callback. And it works just like the other ones. Let me just take you back. So I will go here and we have the on and then navigate. So this one gives you the callback. But then what you can do here is you can handle a promise. So on navigate. I will go to home, reload just in case. And notice it says right here that it's going to supply a callback immediately before navigating to new URL, except during full page navigations. But the main thing is that this one returns a promise. So if I go in, we don't get it. This only works when you navigate away. If I get out, then only then.
No es la misma wea, ¿no? Que el before.
We get navigate. So this one, it's really useful when you return a promise. And when you do so, the onNavigate is aware of that promise and will complete navigation when the promise gets resolved. This is super useful when
I understand.
you maybe have you create an application where you have a lot of transitions and you really depend on the other location to be fully loaded to navigate away.
I'll be back.
Volveré.
Well, that's why you get this. And it says right here, if you return a promise, Sveltekit will wait for it to resolve before completing the navigation. So this is something that you also get with React, for example. If you're creating with React Native, if you're creating an application where you swipe away, well, sometimes if you swipe and you have an animation or transition, maybe that transition will complete before the fetching or whatever is that you need to do, and it will make your application not crash, but you will get fail, and that would be a problem. So you need something to control that navigation. Well, this is the same idea. Now, still, like I said, all of these methods are very, very specific. So maybe you want to spend a couple of minutes just reading what you can do with them. In our case, I much prefer to keep moving forward because we need to talk about something really important. We need to talk about form server actions. And they are not common forms. They are just server type of forms. It's just a different format, a different way of creating forms.
Form action now.
Right, so
Form
welcome back.
action.
Let's talk about form actions. We already talked about handling forms using felt or felt e, and yup, that still applies, but we do that from the client, not the server. There's no server involved. When we talk about a server form or form action, we are talking about just a common JavaScript form on the client and then the server catching what we sent from that form. So this is just a different way of handling forms. Now, first, let's go to the contact page. I am going to go to the plus page that's felt. I'm going to pretty much select everything. We don't need it. Still, everything's
We don't need it still.
saved on a version on GitHub. And if I go to the page that's server and then kaboom, delete everything. I'm going to go to the page that's Svelte. And if you want to work with forms, well, we kind of need a form. So first, we need to create a form, open and close.
Comment everything.
And this one needs the method because now we are working with a server type of form. I will say that the method is post. And then inside, we just need a common form. So I will create a div with a class of MB and then 3. I guess we need a label. So label equals 2. We do the 4. It's going to be name, then open, and it's going to be your, and then name. And I guess I will add a class name right here, class of form dash and then label. Now then we need the input. I'm going to go here. I'm going to say input and then self close it, and we need to add the type. This will be a type of text, and then we need the class of form control. And now since here we will control or just handle the form outside of the page.server, we don't need to bind it. Now then we need a button so we can submit the form. I will go to button, open and close, and this one will be a class, the name of submit, and
What?
the type, it's going to be submit, and the class, since this is bootstrap, it's going to be btn and then btn and then primary. If I see it and then I go to contact, we get a very simple form. So when we submit, since this is a common form, when I submit, it's going to reload the application and we get sorry, method not allowed, because nobody's listening to this form. So when we are on this location, on this path, we could have a page that's server.js that will listen to whatever is that we post right here. And that is called a form action. And the way we listen for this is going to be creating an export const and then using the keyword actions just like that. And then this one is equal to open and close. And we need to pass an object, provide an object. So here you can listen to different forms. So if your form has no name, you can use the keyboard default, and whatever is that you post will go to this default. And here on this one, it's just an async type of function that will listen to whatever is that we post, and everything will be inside the event. Make sure that you save the page server.js, and if I maybe go back to contact, make sure that you save the page server.js, and if I maybe go back to contact, I'm going to reload the application, I'm going to submit, and this time we'll reload, but we don't get an error, but nothing happens. So, we kind of need to go here, take what's inside the event, do something, and then send a response back to where the form is. Now, the first thing is that since we are not controlling this form with JavaScript, we need the classic input name. I will go here and say that the name for this one will be, I guess, name. So now, when we submit this form, it will travel all the way to the default action, and we can get the event. And on this one, we can do, destructuring, and we can get the request, and everything will be inside the request. And what we need to do now is just to catch the information, just get the form data. So const, and we go to the form, then data. You can use whatever name. The convention is form data, but I can do await, and then we go to the request. We need to do dot, and then get the form data from the actual request. In my case, our case, we need to get the name, the one that's called name. So I will say name equals to, we access the form data, and then we get the property name. This will give us the value of that name. And if I do a console.log open and close, I can see what the user is posting. So I'm going to save it. Make sure again that you save the file. I will reload the application, and I'm going to say something like Steve, and when I submit, it will reload the form because this is a standard form. But if I go to my server and I go all the way down, we can see that the server, it's getting the name or the form data. And that's in a nutshell how a server type of form works. Now, of course, when you get the data, you want to do something, and at some point, want to send the response back that will travel all the way back to this component. You can send the response by returning, and you need to return, like we did before with the load function, a plain object. So we return, open and close, and then we say something. Let me just bring this down. I'm going to say that we have a success, not super success, equals to true, and then comma, and I'm going to say that the user name is equal to the name is, and then we attach the name that we are receiving, just to make sure that, you know, we send something back. And in this case, again, I'm going to go here, reload the application. I do something, I submit, nothing happens. It's because, again, this returns something. We need a way to catch it on this component. And the way to do it is the same as always. Accessing props. I'm going to go here at the top. I will say that we have a script that catch it happens. Again, receiving, just to make sure that, you know, we send something back. And in this case, again, I'm going to go here, reload the application.
Why is not working?
I do something, I submit, nothing happens. It's because, again, this returns something. We need a way to catch it on this component. And the way to do it is the same as always. Accessing props. I'm going to go here at the top. I will say that we have a script, and this one will be a let of open and close. And in this case, it's going to be form. And this one is equal to props. So we go to props. And if I do a console dot and then log of form, we will be getting this return back. Right, so let's get it. I'm going to reload.
Wait.
Getting this return back. Right, so let's get it. I'm going to reload. I'm going to say Francis. I will submit. This will go to the server.
Oh.
And then get back here, and we get the success, and we get the username property. Since we get a response on in object form, we could use this to do a little bit of validation. Now, maybe you're thinking, because this is, you know, very common thought, what's the point on doing something like this? Because we could very easily create a form with felt and yup. Well, yeah, you can, and that's, you know, that's usually the way you would do it. The problem is that when you use a library, you depend on JavaScript to make the form work. Right now, this is a very old-fashioned, good standard form.
It's right. It's right.
You don't need JavaScript. So if someone is using your app on a place where maybe JavaScript is disabled, the form will still work. If of course JavaScript is disabled on the browser and you're using felt and yup, the form will not work at all. So this is why you would use a server form. You make sure that the form will always work.
Oh, esto está súper bueno. No, no lo conocía.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one and talk about how we can add a little bit of validation. Okay, let's talk about validation. If you have experience validating forms the old way, I'm not going to teach you anything new right here. What we need to do on the server side, we just need to get the errors, just do a manual type of validation. You can use the library that works on the server if you want, but if you do a manual validation, we send the response with an errors object or an errors array, and then we catch it on the front end, and then we show the errors. Don't worry, if you don't know how to do this, I will show you how to do this. First, we need to go here, and we need to evaluate what we get inside form data. And what we do, we create an object, and if we have an error, we push the errors to that object. And what we return back is the success or the object with the errors. First, I will create an errors object, so errors, open and close, and we create an empty object. And then, we need to start checking. I'm gonna say if we have no name, it means that I want to push a new error to the errors object. And usually you push the errors with the name of the property that you're using. In this case, we are just using a name. It's just a one single input, but you might have different. If you do errors that name, it's of course obvious that you know that you're getting an error for the property name and not maybe last name or country or something like that. So if the case is that we have no name, it's just empty, we could say the input is empty or something like that. Okay, so there you go. Now then, if everything is okay, well, then we do the opposite. What we want to do is we return a good response. I'm going to say if errors dot and then name, which means that we don't have any errors.
If we don't have any error,
in that case, I want to return the success and then true. So success true.
success true. Return.
If of course we do have an error, well, in that case, I'm going to be returning an error back with the errors object. And what we can do, we can return a fail. So return and then fail. If you don't have it, it's going to import it at the top. from svelte.js and then the kit. So the fail, it's just fairly simple. You just provide the error code, and then the attachment. So it's, in this case, is 422. I guess it's unprocessable entity. And then you open and close, and we provide the errors object. So now, if we have an error, all of this is going to go all the way back here, and we will catch it from the props. If I go to the actual form, reload it, I'm going to submit with... If we have an error, all of this is going to go all the way back here, and we will catch it from the props. If I go to the actual form, reload it, I'm going to submit with nothing inside. What we get back is, the error, and then inside we get the errors object, and the input is empty. If I reload and add something, I'm going to submit, and then we get success true because we do have an input. So now what we need to do, we just need to listen to the form and see if we have the errors. And if we do, we show something else to the user. And for this, we can do something simple, like if we have a form, and then if, of course, we have a form and success, dot, and then success, we go here, open and close, and we say, I don't know, thank you, something like that. Thank you. And if the case is that we have an error, well, then I'm going to go maybe below the input, and I will say pretty much the same thing. So I can just copy this and just paste it right here. If we have forms, but this time if we have form and then errors, then and only then I want to show the error that we get back for that property. So form.errors.name. Now this is a very simple example because we have one single input. We will create a much more complete example when we get to the practice project. Now this is a very simple example. We will do something a lot more challenging, let's say, when we get to the practice project. For now, I much prefer to keep it simple. But in a nutshell, that's what you do. You send back the errors, then you catch them and you do something. So I'm gonna reload the application. I'm going to submit with no value at all. So we should be getting an error. We get it, and we get the input is empty. If I provide something and I submit, then we get success true, and we get the thank you. Like we discussed, when we do something on this form, since we are using a server form, this will reload the tab. If I submit, it reloads, and then it comes back. It would be nice if we could avoid that reloading. Since we are not using JavaScript, we don't get a native way to prevent the browser from reloading, but we do get something from Sveltekit called enhance. And this will help us to prevent the form from reloading a single page application. So let's go to the next video and talk about the enhance. From Svelte and forms, we get something else that calls enhance. which is a way to keep the native way of the form, but without the page reload. And just using it, it's very simple, but then we can extend it, and that's when it gets a little bit more tricky. First, I need to import the module. It's called enhanced, and then it comes from app and then forms. And the way to use this is just going to the form and say use, then colon, and then enhance. That's it. That's the only thing that we need to do. I'm gonna reload the application. I'm gonna do, I don't know, Francis, just to post something. And when I submit, we get the thank you. If I reload the application and I just submit with nothing, we will be getting back the input is empty. Still, notice that on the plus page that's filled, we get null. And this is the console log.
It's not retrieving
From the form. So now everything is being handled by the enhance. So we don't have a real way to get a lot of information on the console log. The thing is that the enhance can be extended. And the way we do so is by doing equal to, and then we open just object, and then inside we run the callback function, just a callback function. And then within, we have access to a lot of things. I'm going to open and do it right now. So first, we have access to something that calls form element, comma, we have the form data, then comma, we have the action, comma, and then we have something that's called canceled. So we have access to all of this. And they are just different functions that will allow us to do different things. Now, I'm not going to go really crazy on this, but I'm just going to show you what we get back. So first is the form element. And this one, it's access to the DOM element of the actual form. So I'm going to say DOM element. Then we get access to the form data. And this is the form data, the inputs and the values of each input and everything else. So, you get access to this. So you can maybe go to form data dot and get the value that you have on name. You have access. Let me add the comment, form, data, and then object. Then you have the action. And the action is where the